Hey, Hikaru, welcome.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing
Great.
well. We're happy to see you're doing well too.
Yeah, feel pretty good. It's a good day.
Yeah, so tell us about your game. Let's put it on the board and just kind of like walk us through it. It looked like your preparation for the game. I mean, you know what was surprising, Hikaru? The first moments in the opening where it felt that even though he was the one choosing this line. Well, first of all, let me ask you, how surprised were you by E4 by reports?
I mean, he played it. I mean, he played it in he played it in round 2 or round 1 or whenever it was against Ali Reza. So it wasn't really that much of a surprise. I mean, I guess the thing is Fabiano has been the one guy who's played this bishop takes c6 nonstop in recent memory. But for me, luckily, it wasn't a big surprise because I lost this game to Fabiano in the Rapid Chess Championship. I think it was week 1 or week 2. I don't remember which week it was, but I lost this bishop g5 line. And ever since then, I've looked at this line with h6, g5, bishop e6. So it wasn't really that much of a surprise. And luckily, I was able to remember what I had prepped a couple months ago. But yeah, it felt very smooth for the most part.
Yeah, it was interesting because he kind of chose to go into this line and he deviated with bishop g5 like compared to knight d2 that Caruana did against you. And then somehow it still was like you were the one who was up on the clock. So it wasn't that surprising that, I mean, where do you feel like he was surprised by you?
Well, I mean, I think this g5 bishop e6 is pretty much a novelty. I don't think it's known. So I think at that point he was already a little surprised. And he actually played the main line that I had looked at all those months ago with this whole queen c3 and this long end game. I mean, all this was basically prep, for lack of a better way of putting it, up until probably up until about move 20 or thereabouts. And I couldn't quite remember whether I was supposed to play knight g5, sorry, or whether I was supposed to play like rook d8 or what exactly the order was. But I just knew that this is supposed to be fine. And I mean, I didn't think I was ever really in danger.
And you say this was from you say this was from a few months ago that you had last looked at this, Hikaru?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was week 1 or week 2 of the Rapid Chess Championship on chess.com. I forget which week it was, but I drew the first game against Fabiano in the Rapid Control, and then in the Blitz game he played this against me, and he beat me in that Blitz game with bishop g5, bishop h4. So ever since then, I mean, obviously it was one of those things that I'd looked at. So yeah, none of it was really a surprise. The only thing was I couldn't remember whether I was supposed to allow knight a5 towards like move 21 or 22 or not allow it. That was really the only question in my mind. And I wasn't sure, but again, I didn't think it was ever really all that tricky. I thought pretty much everything I did was very reasonable, and it was just a pretty much smooth sailing.
So let me ask you, Hikaru, like, well, we liked your move g4 a lot because, you know, for that counterplay with knight g5, which is pretty cool. When you studied this position, like, did you just in general, like, you know, consider like, that, you know, these types of end games, or was it just like, oh, well, maybe this is not the best way to show it. Let me think of something where, how can we? I
mean, the only question is, can White somehow trade all the rooks off?
Exactly.
I mean, if White can trade the rooks off, then White has good chances.
Yes.
But,
so
but again, like, this is the reason you look at things as a computer.
Yeah. So you knew this was like a position that you wanted to avoid beforehand.
Well, I just know the computer says you play h5 g4 to stop exactly what you're showing with f3. If the computer says that's what you do, that's what you do. And so there isn't really any more thought to it than that. I just know the computer said play h5 g4, and at some point you play knight g5 and it's all good. So
nice.
Yeah, it's not really I mean, there isn't much deep thought to it. I mean, obviously I used a little bit of time, but I was more or less just making sure about the move orders that I wasn't blundering something. I don't know if knight g5 was right, but it felt right. I mean, I wasn't sure because I know earlier you can allow knight a5. I wasn't sure if I should allow it here, but I thought everything I did was fine. I thought h4 was good. c5 made sense. Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe I got a little bit careless allowing this whole long line here with this king e5, knight d5, because I actually miscalculated this. But once I found this rook a1, knight e6, rook e1, I think it's still just very solid. So
what did you miscalculate?
What? I thought that after knight d5, I thought after knight d5 I could play knight takes e4 and just draw instantly. I forgot that he has knight c4. I just forgot all about knight c4. Basically, when I calculate, because I saw his position from the moment that I played c5, I saw his position like, you know, nearly 10 moves earlier, but I forgot. I thought it was just an instant draw, and it's not. But luckily I still have resources.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, Hikaru. I mean, definitely, I think the engine liked your play throughout this whole game. And like, so maybe you felt like you missed a few things, but I think it was pretty much perfect according to the engine.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you can blitz out the first 20 moves in a game with white or black, for that matter, you're going to be feeling pretty good about yourself. And so they're far less critical decisions to make. And I thought the only critical one was finding this 96 rookie one. That was the only critical decision that I saw in the game.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, this was a tricky moment for you. Yeah, you could play. Well, there's like 96 immediately, and then there's like Rook A1 96 to kind of, I guess, move.
Yeah, I mean, basically the way that I looked at it is I thought that if he gets like knight b6, knight takes b6, knight c4, and he keeps a 2-on-1 on the queen side, he might have some chances. So basically, I figured if I can avoid him getting like the knight on c4, then it has to be a very clean draw. And basically, he's not able to get the knight takes b6, knight c4 because of knight f4 here, and I think everything's just very. Yeah, it's just very drawish. I didn't see anything better for him besides what he did in the game. I mean, maybe there's something that said c4, but it felt very drawish.
So Hikaru, your fans have commented like on you doing YouTube videos, like the recap videos during the tournament, as being, kind of unusual for someone who's in the middle of an event. Like, do you want to like just tell us like your approach to that?
Well, I mean, obviously it's a different time period, but I do remember all the way back, I think it was 1995 when Gary and Vishy were playing in New York. After that famous win in game 10, I believe, was where Kasparov won in this Open Spanish. I'm pretty sure he did like a whole analysis in USA Today. Now, obviously it's a different medium and times are different, but I mean, I would say that's pretty much the same thing in a certain way. Again, the recaps are relatively short, so it doesn't take a lot of time. But I think also when you play a tournament like the Canada's, where players, including myself, have had a couple of months to do preparation, the on the fly kind of preparation that you do before the game is a lot less than it would be for, say, the FIDE Grand Prix event. So yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal for that specific reason. But obviously, it's a little bit different. That being said, I think the fans enjoy it, and it's been good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, great that you're able to do those, Hikaru. By the way, did you see the games today? Because there was a big victory by Nepomniachtchi over Firouzja.
Yeah, I mean, I guess without saying too much in general, I feel like Alireza's been infected by MVL or something. I mean, just choosing to play the Najdorf every game in a tournament like the Canada's, where players have had a lot of time to prepare, I think it's questionable. I think that's how I'd put it. I think questionable at best. To try and play the Najdorf every game. And obviously Jan, I mean, no doubt he certainly prepared for the Najdorf. He had months before the World Championship. So it just struck me as kind of a weird choice. And I think Jan, I mean, I don't know what he said about the game, but it looked to me like it was probably something he'd prepped many months ago before the match against Magnus. And he was just able to use it here, and he just blew Firouzja away.
So too many lines that are very dangerous for white, and they can kind of like pick through them.
Well, I think it's hard. It's hard to play the Najdorf every game. I mean, it's just that simple, I think. But again, it just looked like a very, very well played game by Jan from start to finish, and so yeah, very, very deserved, I think.
So we have a tweet here about your wallet getting scanned by a metal detector.
So yeah, I mean, I guess okay. I mean, I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring all this stuff up now, but I guess there's no reason not to. I mean, first things first, which I'll talk about, and I think this is worth noting, is I think it's very unfortunate that when you look at the regulations or you look at the rules, there is no player input. FIDE basically at their assemblies or behind closed doors, they make decisions without asking, say, the top 100 players in the world. So that's where I'm going to start with, because my first problem is with the time control. Every tournament in the world that we play in these days has increment for move one. You look at the FIDE Grand Prix, you look at the World Cup, St. Louis, Grandchester, every single event in the world that professionals play has increment for move one. And suddenly this event doesn't. And this was a decision that was made by FIDE. The top 100 players, for example, were not consulted on it. We weren't consulted even here before the Canada's tournament. So I have a problem with that. Second thing I would say, and this leads into the dress code before I get to the whole wallet situation, but leading into the dress code, is that there's always been this sort of dress code FIDE has had for the Grand Swiss, for the Grand Prix, etc. And basically every single player has violated that in some way, whether it's wearing sneakers, whether it's wearing a casual t-shirt. wearing a Balenciaga sweater. I think people know who I'm referring to there. But it's been, there's been sort of a give and take where FIDE has always been relatively understanding and lenient. And now suddenly for this event, they choose to basically go after me, go after Fabiano, and suddenly change their tune completely. And I think if FIDE is going to have this attitude, then the players basically have to get together and essentially have input in terms of what is okay or what isn't okay. That's what I will say. And then onto the wall situation, my attitude towards this is FIDE is not going to be understanding. They're going to try to be extremely hard line. That at the technical meeting, there was a question I actually asked it about whether you can bring a wallet to the board, or what are you allowed to bring to the board. It was very clearly specified you could do that. And my attitude is that if FIDE is going to be ridiculously out of line and try to be hardline about the whole dress code, then I'm well within my right to say the same thing, that they very clearly said that players are allowed to bring their wallets to the board. And if they want to scan or take out all my credit cards, so be it. I don't really care. But that's the main reason that there's this issue, is because FIDE suddenly has decided that they're going to not have common sense whatsoever about all these different things. And at the end of the day, I mean, the players are the ones who are here to play chess. That's what it's about. If Fabiano is wearing flip-flops and shorts or something, that's one thing. But I mean, if Fabiano is wearing a dress jacket and wearing jeans, or I'm doing the same thing, like, at the end of the day, that it's what it is. And, Fabiano should be much more important than FIDE's nonsense. That's all I'm going to say.
So you just have all these metal cards in your wallet that are just like getting caught by the detector. Is that the issue?
No, I mean, basically my point about that is that they very clearly said you could bring a wallet. If they want me to take cards out and scan it at the board, which they did, that's completely fine. But they're acting in bad faith by suddenly being extremely hardline about the dress code when they've never cared in past FIDE events. So if they're going to be like that, then I think, even if it's a little bit silly, I think I'm well within my right to be the same way about the whole wallet issue.
Understood. So did they actually do that? They actually scan your cards?
Well, I mean, they asked me to take the cards out and they scan it. Yeah, I mean, they can do it either way. I mean, whatever. But at the end of the day, I mean, the whole thing is very silly, and none of this would be an issue if FIDE wasn't being completely insane for no particular reason about the dress code. But at the end of the day, I think things are going to be very different, specifically because FIDE has shown that they are not going to listen to the players. They're going to decide what they want to do when they want to do, and the players at the end of the day should have more power and should be making the decisions that affect them. So hopefully in the future, we'll be able to things will hopefully change.
Oh yeah, the players certainly have a lot of insight. And what else would you change? What about the tie breaks?
I mean, I have no problem with the tie breaks. At the end of the day, I think the fact is, though, why is FIDE making these decisions? You should get the top 100 players together, and they should basically agree or disagree on time control, the sort of time control, what the dress code is, which should just be business casual, frankly. And those are probably the two major things. I don't think there's anything else specifically, but at the end of the day, I mean, players should be deciding these things, not FIDE.
And HIKAru, I'm just like really surprised actually that they did not consult the players on the time control. That's a pretty big thing there. I mean, I can't imagine, like, why would you have such an unusual time control with no input from the players at all?
Well, I mean, basically the argument is that for the World Championship, they made it this time control. Of course, the irony to me is that when you look at the time control, you would think that for the tournament like the candidates or the World Championship, you want the absolute best play objectively. Whereas in my opinion, by not having an increment, you're actually inducing a lot more potential for mistakes because players have to make decisions in a different way than they would with increments. So I actually think that's why, in a sense, the quality of like the FIDE Grand Prix or other events is actually higher because the time control is better in terms of quote unquote perfect play. So yeah, it's, the whole thing is pretty insane. But I think at the end of the day, players just shouldn't put up with this. And whether I have to be the pariah who wants to step up and speak for the players, I don't know. But I mean, something has to change because it's just not acceptable.
And here you can see they were going through your wallet, asking you to go for your wallet right before the game. And of course, that could potentially be distracting. Yeah.
I mean, to me, like not to make light of the situation, but it's all a little bit of a joke. I'm just here playing chess, having fun. And, if they think somehow that's going to bother me, it's not. But as I said, if they're going to be far from objective and far from using common sense and suddenly changing the approach they have, then I mean, I'll stick to what I said. And sure, it might be an inconvenience for me, but I think it's I'm well within my right if they're going to act in bad faith.
And how is it in Madrid? Is the tournament hall good temperature? How is it out in the streets? Is it beautiful days in Madrid?
It's fine. It's finally cooled off. I mean, it was around 100 degrees for the first week or so that I was here. But today was, I think, maybe in the 70s Fahrenheit. So it's actually kind of nice now. It's cooled off a little bit. Actually, no, I will say this, the other thing that really annoys me as well about this is that at the technical meeting, I sort of asked them, and sure, it was related slightly different to COVID stuff, but I asked them about this sort of zero tolerance in terms of players having to be at the board right at 3:00 or getting fined. And, it's very unfortunate because every day when I walk to the playing hall, it's on a very small side street. There are probably like 50 kids and adults who want autographs or pictures. And basically I have to be a complete dick and tell them I can't do it because of FIDE making this rule, and also just showing no leeway whatsoever in the technical meeting on this topic either. So I do enjoy the fans are showing up, but it's actually quite disappointing that at the start of the round, I basically have to tell a bunch of people no, even though it's their one opportunity before the game to get an autograph or a picture. So I also find that very distasteful, frankly. And it's disappointing, but I feel like I should say these things because FIDE has been big on talking about quote unquote perception of the event. And I think, trying to portray it as being one way when the realities are quite different, something has to be said.
Oh, that's hard, Hikaru. How do you do that? What do you tell the kids? Do you say something?
Well, you basically walk past them. You be a total dick and you walk past them. I mean, pardon my English, but that's what you have to do. And it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Hikaru, can I ask you about the other main thing that has come up at the event? So when the commentator, Ludwig Hammers, so he tested positive for COVID. So are you guys not doing any post-game conferences anymore in Madrid, or what's going on with that?
Well, I think they were doing interviews today. I know, for example, Danny and Almira, I don't think there were any, they haven't had anyone on since Fabiano was there. But I don't really know what the situation is because they also said, persons. They didn't just say Jan Ludwig. They said persons have tested positive for COVID. So based on that wording in an email that was sent to the players about persons testing positive as opposed to one person, I mean, it's hard to know what the situation is at the moment. But at least there is a plan, thanks to players actually saying something also during the technical meeting on this topic. And there is a plan in case players test positive.
Are they testing you guys?
No, the regulations basically is that there's a temperature check. And if your temperature is above a certain, if it's above 36.5 Celsius, then you have to take a rapid antigen test, I think it is. But if not, then yeah, you just go about your business and there's nothing set. There's no specific testing.
Oh, well, I think that's good. That sounds reasonable to me. And yeah, I mean, was there anything else you want to tell us about Hikaru?
Not really. I mean, I think I sort of said what I want to say about the topic, about all the FIDE stuff. But anyway, no, I mean, all that stuff aside, obviously it's been a pretty good start for me. Not three draws. I guess I lost one and won one. So I'm on that even score that I wanted to be on after 4 games. And I'm feeling pretty good. I have 2 whites in a row. I assume I play Jan tomorrow, although I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And at any rate, I'm where I want to be so far, and we'll see what happens. But I'm playing well. I feel good. All of those little nuances or nuisances aside, I should say. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Oh, Hikaru, speaking of all the FIDE questions we've been talking about, did you see Nigel Schwartz's resignation today? With no stated reason.
Yeah, I heard about it. I don't know what the reasoning is. I mean, he's been, I think, fairly outspoken on a certain topic. But I don't have any more insight than anybody else. It's just it's quite surprising to me that he resigned. But I mean, it's FIDE stuff, so who knows?
We have a couple questions from the viewers. They're asking, Are you having fun?
Oh, I'm having a lot of fun. I mean, other than this insane nonsense going on, yeah, I'm having a great time. I mean, like I said, it's always great to see the fans who are showing up every day to watch the players play. I mean, I think seeing a lot of the players as well for the first time in many years, like people like Timur, for example, who I've known for many, many years, Jan, Fabiano, all the usual guys, or the usual suspects. It's great to see them again. And yeah, I feel like I'm playing well, and I'm having a good time so far, much better than I was having in 2016 at this point. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
Awesome. Well, we hope you have a lot of fun tomorrow in your big game versus Jan Nepomniachtchi. And thank you for joining us. And
one last thing, just also so you guys know, thanks to FIDE not really being understanding on the dress code, I'll be wearing the same suit every day for the next like 12 days. So if I smell bad around the other players, that's just life, because I was expecting to be like the Grand Prix. So be it. So yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll have to live with it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. It just sounds like strange that FIDE is not more responsive to the needs of the players and to their opinions. Like one of the things I appreciate about St. Louis is, like, we recently had, the American Cup there. We had like a technical meeting. Mm-hmm. And we started talking about the format of the tournament, which was, of course, quite unusual, and like what should be the time control for the Armageddon game. Should there be an increment after like move 60, or how should it be a 1 second or 2 seconds? And like basically we just changed it on the spot. Like the players voted, and the organizers changed it. And I think that was just a great example of like how you should solicit the players' input.
Yeah, no, I mean, of course it's true. I mean, on the flip side, the one last thing I'd say that's kind of ironic though about the dress code is because there was this huge long discussion about COVID protocols, and if someone tested positive, whether they could play or be disqualified or what goes on. Like I didn't bring the topic up at the players meeting because I assumed it was going to be business as usual, like it always is. So I will say that probably I should have said something, but when you've played so many events, World Rapid and Blitz, you've seen the Grand Swiss contracts, the FIDE Grand Prix, etc. And FIDE, I mean, they're always good with whatever people do. You kind of assume it's not going to be like that. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, players have to have some kind of input. And I think I would say that I think if I look at my games here, just in the first couple, I think that I mean, probably if Timur has increment against me, I don't think he loses that game, because he had to start moving instantly because there wasn't any increment. I think Timur would have played that end game better, and that's one example of where it would not have worked in my favor. I don't think there's increment, but it's still, the event should be about the highest quality of play. So I do feel like there should be increment.
Well, yeah, and that shows that you're really interested in the growth of the game and the best rules. But of course, that is the counterpoint to asking players for their opinions. And in some cases, it could mean that the players who are better at Blitz wants more Blitz tie breaks. And,
honestly, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I mean, I even brought this up before the tournament, where he said it was very weird that there was no increment for move one. So I think the players would, every tournament you play is increment. This is literally probably the only tournament I've played, and I don't even know how many years where there's no increment for move one. Every single event that I play has increment or delay for move one. Every single event. So it's like you play 10 events a year, and every event has increment, and then suddenly one doesn't. And it's just very, very weird to suddenly change like that. I mean, if you want to have every game with no increment, that's fine too, but there should be a uniform standard, plain and simple.
Yeah. So even if it benefited you, you still feel it should be the other way.
Well, it should be what benefits the highest quality of play, in my opinion. But it's mainly just you have to have it has to be uniform. You can't suddenly have the candidates in the World Championship with one time control, and then you have the FIDE Grand Prix, the Grand Swiss, everything else with a different time control. That's just absurd. So
how do you compare? Enough. How do you compare World Chess versus FIDE at organizing events?
I mean, maybe there's some difference. I don't know. I mean, I will say that the two Grand Prix I played in Berlin, I thought were very, very smooth, very, very enjoyable. So I don't really know what the difference is in some ways between the two, but I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised more than anything by this. And yeah, it is what it is. So, all
right. HIKAru, last question for you before we let you go. They're asking you about pineapple shoes. I mean, is that a trick question? Do you have any pineapple?
No, I do have pineapple shoes. I just wasn't in the mood to wear them today, but I do have pineapple shoes, and I I mean, if FIDE wants to suddenly be absolutely ridiculous and try to screw things up, then we'll see. But at some point, I'll probably wear them because they are dress shoes.
That's the dress code.
They are dress shoes. End of the day, they are dress shoes. So at some point, probably I will. But yeah, it's just I feel like the players deserve better at the end of the day. I really do. I mean, I think they deserve better on so many different things than what you're seeing here. It's like I think about Fabiano, and one last point is that for sponsors, Fabiano obviously has been sponsored by St. Louis for a long time. And suddenly FIDE, they basically say players can't wear sponsors unless you do X or Y for us, or basically you give us a cut of money, essentially. So the whole thing is just, it all stinks. And it's just terrible. Players deserve better. Players deserve better. That's the bottom line. They do.
Hikaru, it's very good that you're just like speaking up about this, and just, I think it's important to have, your voice out here on these issues, because, it might not be so pleasant for FIDE to hear this, but that's how we're going to have change, right?
Yeah, well, it's like, I mean, Fabiano suddenly can't wear a jacket with like a St. Louis Chess Club logo on it because FIDE is going to say, well, you have to do this or you have to do that. And it's just, I mean, come on. I mean, this is Fabiano we're talking about. He played the World Championship. Like, give me a break. So yeah, the whole thing is just ridiculous, especially because this is chess. This is not, say, the NBA or football or a major sport where it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. I mean, FIDE makes their annual revenue is a couple million, if that. So I mean, it's just absolutely, it's just shameful. But yeah, it is what it is for this event. But I am hopeful that in the future players will actually sort of get together and make sure that these sorts of things don't happen again.
Well, we appreciate your candor, Hikaru, and great luck tomorrow in your super important game.
Yeah, good luck tomorrow, Hikaru. We're going to be rooting for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably do a recording on YouTube as always for the fans, and we'll go from there. So it should be exciting.
See you tomorrow, Hikaru.
All right, see you guys. Bye.